So onto the parts themselves. Now this is the A plate, which you can tell is definitely not Bandai because it's not multicoloured and you know, made a feature plate like they often do, well, like they always do. But one thing I wanted to point out with this is look at the amount of detail you get in some of these parts. I mean, the plastic, if you're worried, I would say it feels a little brittle and it's not quite the same quality as Bandai, but in terms of moulding quality, I think it's absolutely fine. In some cases, it surpasses it even. It reminds me a lot of the Model Comprehend kits if you've ever built those, but look at this. I mean, here's a part that you get a lot of built-in moulded detail, and this really does scream resin kit to me. You know, this is the kind of thing you see if you work on a resin kit. So if you're a good painter, or shall I say, if you're a good masker, then you're going to really be able to make use of that. So I'm not going to go through every single plate in this amount of detail, but I'll point some things out as and when I see them. So there's your A plate, and next up your B plate is your white armour parts, which all look very crisp. And you know, the Evo version, as I've said, is very sort of resin kit styled, I would say. And you know, you can really see it there in these skirts where they're sort of extra long. So moving on, now this next part is nice. This is the C plate, and obviously the inner frame. And I haven't really seen this kind of thing before on a Bandai kit. This very much reminds me of Kitabukiya sort of armoured core kits where you see parts like this. And that's quite interesting. Moving on, we have the D plate, which is more white armour. And then you've got the propellant tanks and some more parts there. Then a lot of fin funnel parts here, and we'll take a quick look at this because I do like some of the details you get here. So if you can pick out, there's a lot of little holes that you're going to be able to really do some nice panel washing with that. And then even the actual insides of the funnels, they have that kind of little tick marks all over the place that you're going to really be able to do a little bit of work on and panel line. So that's all good. And you've got the rest of the funnels. You've got a big plate for the more propellant tanks and the shield. And we've got polycaps as usual, nothing special there. For a blue tray for the feet, which are pretty long. I do like it. It's it really gives it that kind of pointed sort of, you know, resin garage kit style. Now this next one is a bit special. I wasn't expecting to see this, but because I don't really mention this on the box or anything, but this part, although it's small, these look like some of the joints for the for where the propellant tanks join onto the body, and this is actually gold plated. It's not quite as shiny as some of the you know, like the Strike Full Burst Strike Freedom, but it's still pretty impressive. And then you've got two solitary yellow parts on what is a very non-colourful Gundam. So this tray here, we have the gun and the excuse me, and the shield, and there's some fantastic detail there on the inside of the shield. That's really, really cool to see. And the gun as well. This is again, I keep saying this, but this is very, very similar to what you would get on a resin kit, with all that piping and detail that if you're good, you're going to be able to make use of. So moving on, a lot of inner frame parts here. So, and then another tray of a lot of detail. Now, these are quite interesting because they're quite thick actually. So when you put these together, you're going to get like a much more of a, well, I don't know. I find that with Bandai kits, master grades, a lot of the inner frames are kind of sort of quite angular. So this one looks like it's going to be a bit better than your average inner frame. And then this plate reminds me very similar of the sort of the B plate earlier on, where you get these parts here that I sort of said that you sort of see in a lot of Armoured Core kits. But yeah, nice to see all this detail. Alright, so then more inner frames. I'm not sure what these little parts are, but there's lots of them. So that all looks interesting. Looks like some kind of mechanism going on in there for probably the thin funnels. Then this next part, you get a giant sort of tray for the base. More white armoured parts, and I thought, let's take a look at this to give you an idea on the quality of the moulding on this. So there's the V-fin, which normally you get on a non-Bandai kit, shall we say. You normally get some flaws with this kind of thing, and on the faceplate as well. But no, it looks okay. So I definitely vouch for the quality of this kit. It seems perfectly fine to me. Then we have this next plate, which is the what's this? This is the X plate. Now this one is quite interesting, I find, because it's a big plate of really small, tiny little parts. And let me tell you where I've seen something like this before, is where you buy the sort of separate detail up parts. Now, as far as I can gather, all of this plate are tiny little parts that you're going to cut out, paint a different colour probably, and then attach on to various places just to give it that extra layer of colour. And you can see there's, all of these are kind of like just little tabs, all things that you just sort of tack on afterwards to give it that extra layer of detail. So this tray alone should really make things quite interesting to what would otherwise be a pretty bare standard kit. But this X plate should really make the difference once it's done. And then moving swiftly on, we got the last couple of plates. We have the rest of the blues. And then this plate, which is a stand all of its own. As you can see, it's actually quite chunky, this plate, so that's pretty cool. So that should form something quite interesting. Okay, now these next couple of parts, if you've built the full burst Strike Freedom Master Grade, then it should remind you a lot of that. You've got some effect parts here, which are translucent blue, and they have that kind of flame sort of afterburner, jet afterburner effect going on, so that's all pretty cool. Then you've got two beam sabers, which are pretty cool. They're not. They have that kind of bulb sort of stem to them, and they just taper off. So that's quite interesting. And then these you get these clear rods, which are clear, flexible plastic, and I think you're supposed to bend them so that they each one supports a thin funnel. And you sort of bend them onto the base and form a kind of flying fin funnel attack effect. But I personally, I'm not sure about how these ones are going to work, but I've got the tried to use them at least for the Master Grade Strike Freedom full burst mode, and I hated these. They don't quite stay in place once you've done them, and I don't know, I don't really like using these, but we'll see. So I'll save these for last, and then you got a sheet of effect parts here, which are it's clear plastic, it's flexible, and they have kind of a shimmering lightning effect going on there, so that's pretty cool. And obviously you get enough to do all the fin funnels. Now, what they give you here is a sheet of stickers for all the places that you need them, and the main one being the shield. But these are really crap. Even the Bandai ones you don't really want to use, but these especially so are pretty poor. I mean, it's shiny there on the outside, but on the bit that matters, it's actually like a matte sort of paper. So it's even worse than what you would normally expect. So I'd say definitely ditch these, and just knock up a little bit of paint just for these parts, if nothing else. But what is nice is that they give you this, let me just take it out so you can see properly. They give you this rather large sheet of water slides. Now, these look to be of really good quality actually, and I can definitely see myself using all of these, and probably with a few spare for some other kits, but these actually all look of really good quality. And you know, one thing that really brings out anything with fin funnels is all of these markings where you've got the, you know, a number for each set, as well as all the red caution stickers for on top of the white parts, because you know, with any Gundam kit, the white parts tend to be the most plain, and whenever you get the opportunity of putting some red water slides or dry transfers, they always make them look that much more interesting. So there you go, everybody. Apologise for my voice in this video, because I've just got a little cough going on here, but that's the whole kit. So I'll show, hopefully I'll get to show this off once I get this put together, and go through what is no doubt to be quite a long, or what is going to be quite a long painting process. So once again, until next time, thank you for watching.